Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a totally hidden, microscopic universe that exists literally right under our noses, just beyond the limits of human sight. I mean, we interact with the macroscopic world every single day, right? But how small can the human eye actually see? Seriously, take a second and imagine how your perception of life would change if you could just flip a switch and suddenly see everything that's hiding in plain sight. How would witnessing this invisible world completely alter your understanding of complexity? Or, even crazier, how might it redefine what actually counts as living? Well, for centuries, this microscopic realm was just totally unknown. Nobody had a clue. It wasn't until someone discovered that a simple curved piece of glass, thick in the middle and thin at the edges, could actually make the invisible visible. And because of its shape, which kind of looks like a lentil seed, it was perfectly named a lens. It's wild to think that this one simple little tool completely paved the way for modern microscopes. Now, let's fast forward a bit to the 1660s. This is where things get really exciting and build into a true scientific revolution. The invention of the microscope didn't just happen overnight. It was the result of incredibly curious minds really pushing the boundaries of these early lenses. And in doing so, they opened up this fascinating hidden world filled with tiny living creatures. Our first major pioneer here is Robert Hooke. Hooke was using a microscope that could magnify objects up to maybe 200 or 300 times, and he decided to look at a super thin slice of cork. When he did, he noticed it was made up of these tiny, empty little compartments. To him, it looked exactly like a honeycomb. So he drew what he saw and called each of those small spaces a cell. And that right there is the very first time the word cell was ever used to describe the basic unit of life. It's just a brilliant example of how technology completely drives science forward. Because right around that exact same time, a Dutch scientist named Antony van Leeuwenhoek was over there making even better lenses. And with these superior lenses, he built much more powerful microscopes. In fact, he became the very first person to clearly see and describe tiny living things like bacteria and blood cells. Honestly, his contributions were so massive that he totally earned the title the father of microbiology. But hey, you don't need some fancy 17th century laboratory to see this hidden world for yourself. The basic building blocks of life can actually be revealed with something as simple as an onion peel. If you just take a thin peel, apply a little bit of red saffron and stain so things stand out, and add a drop of glycerin so it doesn't dry out, a standard school microscope will instantly unveil this dense, packed network of nearly rectangular structures. It's literally a direct window right into cellular architecture. And here's the thing, whether we're talking about that onion peel or the actual tissue inside your own body right now, these little compartments hold all the absolute fundamental components for survival. A typical cell is going to be wrapped up in a membrane, filled with a jelly-like cytoplasm, and anchored by a nucleus. Now, plant, fungal, and bacterial cells, they go a step further and have an extra protective cell wall. Although it is worth noting that bacteria are kind of their own entirely unique thing, since they operate without a well-defined nucleus at all.
Okay, so up until now, we've been super focused on the microscopic side of things. It's just natural to assume that all single cells are completely invisible to the naked eye, right? Well, let's challenge that assumption for a second. Is it actually possible for a single cell to be seen without needing a lens at all?
Believe it or not, yes, there is actually a single cell in the living world that measures up to a whopping 170 millimeters in diameter. I mean, let that sink in for a second. 170 millimeters. That is absolutely massive for a single biological cell.
What you're looking at is the yolk of an ostrich egg. That entire yellow center, that is just one single cell. It's officially the largest known cell in the entire living world. All that other stuff, the hard outer shell, the egg white, those are simply non-cellular materials that are just there to protect and nourish that one giant cell inside.
All right, let's zoom way back down from that giant ostrich egg and actually define the true microscopic residents of our world. Microorganisms are basically just living things made up of only one or maybe a very few cells, and they're just way too small to be seen without some sort of help. Some of them, like bacteria or amoebas, are these solitary, single-celled survivalists, while others, like certain types of algae, are actually multicellular.
So, where exactly do all these microorganisms live? Well, the short answer is pretty much everywhere. I'm not kidding. They are absolute masters of adaptation and show this massive, unbelievable diversity. They thrive in everyday environments, like the water we drink, the soil outside, even the food we eat. But they also totally conquer the extremes,
living everywhere from the boiling hot temperatures of natural springs to the freezing icy depths of snow zones. Think about it like this. A seemingly empty little rain puddle, or just a patch of dirt where kids are playing, is actually a bustling, overcrowded metropolis of microscopic life. Honestly, if we suddenly got microscopic vision, we'd see millions of these little organisms, some spherical, some rod-shaped, some just totally irregular and weird, all floating through the air, swimming in the water, and just thriving right there alongside us.
And hey, this actually matters to you directly. Why? Because these invisible organisms aren't just out there hanging out in nature, they are literally living inside your body right this second. Specifically, your gut is home to countless bacteria that are actively helping you digest your food. So, in a very real biological sense, you are a walking, talking ecosystem all on your own. You're literally never truly alone.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this one thought. Knowing that you are completely surrounded by and entirely filled with invisible life, how does that change the way you see the world? The next time you look at a simple drop of water, or even just take a deep breath of air, remember the massive, vibrant, living universe that's operating just beyond our sight. Thanks so much for exploring this with me.